Next up in the wild way to lucid dreaming, we'll be going over some of Slider's reasons to pursue a lucid dreaming practice. And so first up is a really obvious one, right, for the pure entertainment value of it. And I think this reason can get overlooked by a lot of people, but to me, this reason alone is far more than enough of a reason to pursue lucid dreaming, right? Like if you think about it, a humongous part of anyone's life is simply just trying to pursue cool and fun experiences, right? To entertain yourself. And, you know, lucid dreaming is like the perfect opportunity for that. Anyway, so he writes, believe me, if you've never done it before, there is nothing more entertaining or exciting than finding oneself fully awake and conscious in a lucid dreaming situation where the only limit to what you want to do next is your own imagination. Well said. Next up, exploring the unknown. I can't speak for anyone else, but from observation, it appears that in the initial stages of learning to lucid dream, traveling to unknown places is far more likely than visiting familiar landmarks. And I think a big reason for this is, like, say if you're trying to teleport or change your dream environment, right? If you're trying to go to a specific environment or a specific dreaming situation, you have to put forth a lot more effort within your mind, and then that greatly increases the chances of your dream ending and you just waking up. So like for me, when I'm trying to change my dream environment, I pretty rarely will try to go to a specific location or some specific situation. Like I'll say I'll go up to a door. I want on the other side of the door to be a different dream environment. I'll just kind of open the door, try and set my intention for it to change and then just see what appears on the other side. Then if I don't like it, simply just close the door, open it again, keep rinsing and repeating until I get to an environment or a situation that I like, and then I'll enter into that dream. One way where I do put a lot more mental effort in trying to get to specific places or situations is through hypnagogia. Like in the liminal dream stuff, I very often will control that a lot more, trying to bring up specific situations. But I think I'll mostly do that because, especially in the early stages of hypnagogia, when these images and thoughts are kind of just popping up and disappearing, it's very easy to just keep rinsing and repeating those, trying to get to a specific situation. And then plus, say if I do wake myself up too much and black everything out, then I know all I got to do is just kind of relax for a few more minutes, sink back down into stage one of sleep, and then see what pops up next. As opposed to doing that within, a REM style lucid dream, you put forth too much effort, you wake up, there's no guarantee that in the next dream, you're going to be lucid again. So it's, just a more sketchy situation there. So typically, hypnagogia, I'll put forth a lot of effort and try to get to specific situations. But within my REM style dreams, I kind of just, pop up the unknown, see whatever comes, and then just enter into that. Next up, he says to experience flying. You'll quickly find out for yourself that in lucid dreaming, flying is a given. For some unknown reason, to fly in dreaming is as normal and as second nature as walking is in waking awareness. And this is definitely the case for me, although I do know there are lots of people out there who have a problem flying in their lucid dreams. But yeah, for me, it is pretty second nature. I mean, I'm flying in a ton of my non-lucid dreams. Like I do it all the time. I'd say in, some high percentage, maybe like 25%. Maybe that's too high. But a lot of my non-lucid dreams, I fly in those constantly. And then in basically every single one of my lucid dreams, I basically always fly as well. Not so much for any particular reason, like to have fun. I mostly just do it as a way to get around the dream environment better and explore the space. Extra mobility. So here he talks about things like, say you're paralyzed in your waking life, right? Through your lucid dreams, you can continue to experience the full range of movement. Something else he points out here too is like through movement, it's a good way to stabilize your dream as well, right? As long as you're focusing on like the physical tactile sensations of the movement, whether that be walking, flying, jumping, or doing whatever else, that's a really good way to stabilize your dream. Like one of my main ways to do it is I'll just run my hand across something that's nearby me within the dream environment. I'll feel that tactile sensation of whatever it is I'm running my hand across, and that works really good at stabilizing things. Next up, he talks about cognitive therapy, points out things like exposure therapy. So say you're really scared of snakes, you can routinely expose yourself to snakes in this safe environment of your dreams and try to get over that fear. He also talks about like how people have used this to like help with their fear of heights. And that just jumped out to me because in real life, I am quite scared of hikes, right? Like I used to hike all the time. And a lot of times I try to avoid doing really ridgy, sketchy hikes, right? Although in my dream life, I love heights, right? I mean, like, I really like that fear of it. Like, far more than flying, what I like to do is jump off of stuff in my dreams, right? So I'll come up to the edge of some mountain cliff or some building, and I have that fear of like, oh God, it looks scary. But then because I know I'm safe, I like to jump off of that thing and I enjoy that fall. But in real life, I got too much stuff to live for. I got kids and things now. I cannot be going ahead and dying. So yeah, I love heights. I love the fear of heights in my dreams, but I really dislike that fear in my waking life. Next up, self-healing. He talks a bit here about the placebo effect. It turns out that the so-called placebo effect can indeed be a force for good in human beings when it comes to rallying the body's own defenses and its own ability to heal itself under certain conditions. And to me, there really isn't any better situation for the placebo effect than through dream work practice. Like, even if something isn't real or isn't true, you can get the strong sense of knowing and feeling that something is absolutely true within your dreams. And so, you know, what better place to have a extremely strong positive placebo effect than through one's dreaming practice. Then he talks about inner development and kind of points out how if you look at things like meditation and yoga as being good avenues for inner development in one's waking life, well, then lucid dreaming is like at the top of that list as well. And at least for me, and I think this is pretty unarguable, lucid dreaming really is essentially just a form of meditation, right? Where else? What we got next? Rehearsing events. And this is actually one that, you know, I did a lot when I first got my current job. I didn't realize how much public speaking and stuff was involved in it. And when I did find out how much was involved in it, I really hated it, like to the point of I'm going to quit my job over this. But something I would do back then is I did this both in my non-lucid dreams, but also in my lucid dreams as well, is I'd put myself into these situations where I was getting on stage in front of people and having to provide a training. And the main way I used it is, you know, I found that when I did good in my public speaking events, it felt great. Like the feeling that gives you when you kill it, you know, it's like untouchable. But then also the feeling you get when you do terrible is super duper bad too. So mostly through my dreams, I would just focus on the more positive aspect of, you know, killing it and then having all that good feelings afterwards when it's done. You can also use it for problem solving and finding novel solutions. And this actually makes me think of something that isn't quite like a lucid dreaming thing. It's more of like a liminal hypnagogic type work, but there's something called the Salvador Dali Thomas Edison method, where they would sit back on these recliners and they would have some kind of problem or question in their head that they're trying to find a solution to. They would drift off to sleep while holding something heavy in their hand. Then once they fell asleep and that thing would drop from their hand, it would hit the floor, make a loud noise, and cause them to wake up. And then when they would wake up, they would, you know, dip back into their memory and see what flash of hypnagogia or what flash of thought came up when they dipped into sleep, and they would see if that little flash of hypnagogia provided an answer. Now, something that I wish they would have done there too is you can learn to, as I talk about all the time, get into hypnagogia and stay there lucidly aware. So, you know, instead of only being in there for literally a moment, they could have learned to stay in there for longer and explore that space more, and, you know, gotten a lot more use out of this whole liminal state and trying to access your subconscious mind to come up with some kind of novel solution. And then I think this is the last one. Last one is sex. Basically, everyone makes mistakes at first. For most people, the experience of suddenly starting to have lucid dreams can prove overwhelming, particularly for men, in that it can quickly become just another avenue to find and have as much sex as they possibly can. Not that there's anything wrong in having sex, you understand, real or otherwise. Only that once the habit of doing so becomes established in lucid dreaming, it can become very difficult after that to alter one's agenda to do anything else. And it's kind of embarrassing to say, but for the first like 17 years, 20 years of my lucid dreaming practice, before I realized you could use it for anything more than this, I was basically just flying and fucking everything I could. And once I figured out, hey, you can do more things than that, that's actually exactly when I started to take my lucid dreaming practice more seriously and try to expand out of that. But yeah, once you get used to this habit of that's the first thing you're going to do every time you get lucid, it takes, you know, specific work to try and get past that and do something else besides just, you know, have sex with the first attractive thing you can find around. And then got a few more highlights in here, but we'll end it with this. In my opinion, there is no end to the potentially unrealized useful applications of lucid dreaming that only await discovery by experienced and inexperienced practitioners alike. Anyway, with this said, that'll wrap it up. And until the next video, keep your lucid dreaming practice legit.